purpose of the tort system is to deter tortfeasors from doing torts. But that doesn't make it punitive. And so if the only deterrent effect that arises from a monetary exaction is the deterrent effect that any form of compensation would have on the relevant behavior, then that's not enough to shift the balance from remedial to punitive. Justice Gorsuch, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to give you an alternative hypothesis about the shift between the VWPA and the MVRA going from more discretionary amounts to a mandatory amount. Could Congress have thought, yeah, this is punishment for sure. It's punishment for all the reasons your friends on the other side say and all the courts of appeals concluded with respect to the VWPA. But district courts are simply not exercising their discretion appropriately, and we're going to take that discretion away. In much the same way, sometimes Congress takes discretion in sentencing prison terms away and creates mandatory minimums. Thoughts?
Well, I think it's conceivable that Congress could have had that intent, but at least in terms of the legislative history of the MVRA, nothing like that is shown.
How about the MVRA? Isn't it pretty clear that was what was going on?
I think what's in the MVRA?
Yeah. Congress thought that discretion needed to be taken, more discretion had to be taken away.
Oh, no, Justice Gorsuch. I think what Congress looked at was an epidemic of hospitalizations and fraud, wiping out people's life savings, and it being too hard for victims to get the compensation they needed.
Okay. All right. And that the awards were not appropriate and they needed to be more severe.
But, well, you know, they needed to be more compensatory. Okay. And as I said, in cases like Marcus versus Hess and Helverine versus Mitchell, the compensatory nature of a remedy has been the lodestar for rendering it non-punitive.
It could be more compensatory or it could be more punitive, couldn't it?
Well, again, I go back to this Court's precedents. This Court has said that compensatory remedies, even treble damages that operate...
I understand that in the civil context, but I am asking you to spot a lot. And I'm asking you to spot that, you know, the circuits were not completely crazy in thinking that the VWPA was punitive. And if that's true, then maybe that's really the source of our disagreement, or at least in this colloquy.
I understand the intuition, Justice Gorsuch, that, well, when you make something mandatory, doesn't that make it more severe
I guess
and so more
thank
punitive?
You, Mr. Bash.
But
you stated my question better than I did.
But I don't think that ultimately holds up, because it is the tort system that is a mandatory compensation regime. It is the civil justice system that is a mandatory compensation regime.
There's compensatory in both cases before, just an insufficient one, and Congress made it more punitive, more compensatory.
It really wasn't. It was capped at compensation, but it empowered judges to say, how do I impose an appropriate punishment on this person by calibrating the amount of restitution in connection with all the other things I'm going to impose at sentencing. So it was really more of a criminal system.
I understand your point.
As I understand your argument,